Hello. Throughout this course, I learned a lot of important things I didn't know we would be learning. In the beginning, I thought that human resources was just for dealing with work related issues between employees and management, but I learned that it is a lot more than that. For example, I learned that the importance in analyzing the importance of various compensation methods and benefit programs. I learned from our textbook that compensation includes things such as salaries, wages, bonuses, and things similar to those, while benefits include extra things such as health insurance, retirement plans, and paid time off. I feel like this was an important thing for me to learn because these benefits can make or break on choosing which employer to go with. This is because the benefits can be worth so much more money than another employer that offers a higher salary but with less benefits. I worked hard during this part of the chapter learning this because I used exterior sources and discussion posts to prove my point on why employers will find better workers if they provide superior benefits. Speaking of finding outside sources for evidence in my writings, this is something that I really improved on this year because of this class. I was able to find reputable sources and use these in my paper to make my point. I used this when I did my first discussion post in this class when we discussed labor laws impacting employee and labor relations. We learned that labor laws were put here because of real life scenarios where someone felt they were being treated unfairly at work. I mentioned that we should not take these rights that we have now for granted because they weren't always there for everyone. So if we experience any discrimination at work, there is a system set up for us against any discrimination we might face. Lucier and Hendon from our textbook talk about occupational safety, compensation and benefits, negligent hires, and the ouch test. The ouch test was interesting to learn for me about because it taught me the standards to hiring and how it doesn't allow discrimination to happen at any step of the interviewing process. I enjoyed learning about the negligent hiring because it showed me that managers must follow the proper screening because if they don't, an employee who wasn't supposed to be hired might harm an employee or customer. And lastly, I learned about the 5 HRM functions and how they relate to each other for organizational success. The 5 functions being staffing, training and development, employee relations, labor and industrial relations, and compensation and benefits all relate to each other to create and optimize a workforce. What I mean by that is that we use staffing to find a perfect match for the company, train them to do their job well, and compensate them accordingly so that they feel taken care of and we are still profitable. And the other 2 functions to keep a fair workplace standard in order for no discrimination. In conclusion, I used all these things that I learned from the quizzes and discussions into my WOW project. I was able to find a common workplace problem and find a solution to it by finding how it impacts the HRM functions and describing the problem in detail. By doing so, I was able to understand the overall material of the course so much better by applying it to a real-world situation. Thank you.